I was 17 when the hand of God began to stir my destiny. The tents of my father Jacob were full of life, yet full of tension. My brothers, fierce men of the field, saw me as a boy too favored, too loved, too close to Father's heart. And perhaps they were right. Father gave me a coat unlike any other, woven in colors that danced like the heavens. When I wore it, I felt as though I carried not just cloth, but promise. Yet every stitch of that coat deepened my brother's hatred. Still, I could not remain silent, for the Lord began to speak to me in dreams. I dreamed of the field. My sheaf of grain rose tall, while theirs bowed down before it. I dreamed again. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me. I awoke trembling, not in pride, but in awe. How could I, the youngest of my brothers, bear such a vision? Yet I told them, and my words became fire in their hearts. Their eyes burned against me. Even my father rebuked me. Shall I, and your mother, and your brothers indeed bow to the earth before you? But I kept the dreams in my heart, for I knew, though dimly, that they were not mine. They were the voice of God. Still, I was young, and I did not see the storm rising. They called me dreamer. They called me arrogant, but heaven had already named me chosen. It began with a journey. My father sent me to check on my brothers as they grazed the flocks near Shechem. His voice was filled with trust, for I was his beloved son. But I did not know that his trust would carry me to the edge of death. As I walked the long road, my heart was light. I carried food, water, and greetings of peace. Yet heaven's angels walked unseen around me, for they knew what awaited. My brothers saw me coming. Their whispers were knives. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Let us kill him and see what becomes of his dreams." I did not hear their words at first. I only saw their eyes. Eyes I had known since childhood, now burning with a hatred I could not understand. I was their brother, yet in that moment I was their prey. Reuben, the eldest, restrained them. "Do not shed his blood. Cast him into this pit, but do not lay a hand upon him." He thought to deliver me later, but even his protection was not enough. They stripped me. My coat, the robe of many colors my father gave me, torn from my shoulders like dignity itself. The fabric that had once marked me as loved now became a trophy in their hands. I cried out. I pleaded, "My brothers, please do not do this." But their ears were deaf, their hearts like stone. They cast me into a dry cistern, its walls cold, its emptiness echoing my despair. Down there I prayed, "God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, why? Why show me dreams of greatness only to deliver me to this darkness?" The silence was heavy, but heaven was not absent. I did not see them then, but angels stood watch. Though I lay in a pit of rejection, the hand of God was already moving. Above me, my brothers ate bread. How could they feast while I starved for mercy? Then Judah's voice broke the air. "What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him." And so, I was sold. The Ishmaelites came, traders from Gilead with balm, spices, and myrrh. They bought me for 20 pieces of silver. 20. That was the value of my life in the eyes of my brothers. As I was led away in chains, I looked back, hoping for one face of compassion, but their eyes avoided mine. Their hands pushed me forward. I was no longer Joseph, the beloved son. I was Joseph, the slave. The boy with dreams was now a captive in the hands of strangers. But even in chains, I did not walk alone. Egypt, the land of strange gods, high walls, and tongues I did not know. The journey across the desert broke my strength. Yet what shattered me most was the memory of betrayal. My brother's laughter still echoed in my ears. I was sold into the house of Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. To them, I was nothing more than property, a Hebrew slave stripped of name and worth. Yet the Lord was with me. Yes, even there, in the house of a foreign master, His presence did not leave. When I worked, my hands prospered. When I spoke, wisdom flowed. And Potiphar, he saw it. Soon, I was entrusted with everything: fields, servants, accounts, all under my care. Me, a slave, ruling as though a steward in a palace. But blessing often draws battle, and mine came through the eyes of another. Day after day, she came to me. Her words were honey but laced with poison. Lie with me, she whispered. Her voice soft, yet it thundered in my soul. I was young, lonely, far from home. My heart longed for comfort. Demonic shadows whispered, "No one will know. Give in." But heaven's angels stood guard, reminding me of the God who sees all. I said to her, "How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" But temptation does not retreat easily. She pressed harder. One day, when none of the men were in the house, she caught hold of me. Her hands clung to my garment. My heart raced. Her grip was strong, but my fear of the Lord was stronger. I fled. I left the garment in her hands and ran into the open air, breathless, heart-pounding, but free. Yet my escape birthed a new prison. She accused me of the very thing I fled. Potiphar's anger burned. He cast me into the king's dungeon. So once again I was stripped of honor. Once again I descended from steward to prisoner. But listen carefully. Even in the dungeon, chains could not silence the presence of God. I was not abandoned. I was being prepared. The dungeon, Pharaoh's prison. Cold stone, the stench of rot, the cries of men who had lost hope. There I was, thrown into the shadows once more. From beloved son to slave, and now prisoner. Nights were long. I often lay awake, staring into the darkness. "Lord," I prayed, "have you forgotten me? The dreams you gave me, were they lies? Did I misunderstand your voice?" "You are nothing, Joseph, a forgotten slave. Your brothers were right, your dreams were madness. Your God has abandoned you." Yet even there, the Lord was with me. His Spirit gave me favor with the keeper of the prison. Soon I was placed in charge of the other prisoners. Even in chains, I found myself steward again. It was as though heaven kept reminding me, "You were born to lead." But I did not yet understand. One morning, I saw them troubled, their eyes heavy with fear. I asked them, "Why do you look so sad today?" They answered, "We have dreamed a dream, and there is no one to interpret it." I knew this moment was divine. I said, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams, I pray you." The cupbearer spoke first. He dreamed of a vine with 3 branches, budding, blossoming, and yielding grapes. He pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed it in his hand. The Spirit of God moved upon me. I said, "The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will restore you to your place, and you shall deliver the cup into Pharaoh's hand again." His eyes filled with hope, and I pleaded with him, "Remember me when it is well with you. Mention me to Pharaoh and bring me out of this place." Then the baker spoke. His dream was darker. 3 baskets of bread upon his head, and the birds ate from them. My heart trembled, but the truth was clear. I said, "The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift your head, but from you. You shall be hanged, and the birds will eat your flesh." It happened exactly as God had shown, and yet the cupbearer forgot me. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, months to years. I waited, I prayed, I wept, but Pharaoh's palace remained silent. I thought I had been forsaken. I thought the dreams were ashes, but heaven was weaving threads I could not see. For while men forgot me, God remembered. 2 full years passed, 2 years of silence, 2 years where heaven felt hidden. I had prayed, I had waited, and nothing. But when God moves, he moves suddenly. Pharaoh dreamed 2 dreams. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 lean ones. 7 plump ears of grain swallowed by 7 thin ears. His spirit was troubled. None of Egypt's magicians, none of Pharaoh's wise men could give the answer. Then, the cupbearer remembered. They shaved me. They clothed me. They brought me before Pharaoh. My heart thundered in my chest, from prisoner to standing before the most powerful man on earth in a single day. Pharaoh looked at me and said, I have dreamed a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that you can understand a dream. I bowed low. My lips trembled, but the Spirit of God burned within me. I answered, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. The dreams are one. 7 years of plenty will fill the land. 7 years of famine will follow. So the famine spread like fire. It scorched the land of Canaan, where my father and brothers dwelled. They heard Egypt had grain. So my brothers came, not knowing the man they would face was me. 13 years had passed. My beard was grown, my tongue fluent in Egyptian, my garments royal. They did not recognize me. But I knew them the moment I saw their faces. My heart stopped. 11 bowed before me. The dream of my youth, the sheaves, the stars, was alive before my eyes. And yet anger surged, pain returned. I remembered the pit, the chains, the years lost. Tears welled within me, but I hid them behind a mask of power. I spoke through an interpreter. You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. They pleaded, No, my lord, we are true men, 12 brothers, the sons of one man in Canaan. The youngest is with our father, and one is no more. No more. That was me. In their minds, I was dead. I cast them into prison 3 days, my heart torn. On the 3rd day, I said, If you are true men, let one of you remain here bound, and go carry grain to your households. But bring your youngest brother to me, so your words may be verified. I overheard their whispers, not knowing I understood their tongue. They said, We are guilty concerning our brother. We saw the anguish of his soul when he begged us, and we would not hear. Therefore this distress has come upon us. Their words pierced my heart. I turned away and wept. But the test was not yet over. When my eyes beheld Benjamin, my mother's son, my heart nearly broke. He was grown, yet still the child I remembered. I longed to embrace him, to cry out, Brother! But I restrained myself. Instead, I prepared a feast. I seated them in order of their birth. They marveled, not knowing how I knew. And to Benjamin I gave 5 times as much as the others. Still, I tested them once more. I placed my silver cup in Benjamin's sack, and when they departed, I sent men to overtake them. They returned, fearful, torn with grief. Judah stepped forward. Judah, whose voice once condemned me to slavery. He fell before me and cried, O my Lord, let your servant remain instead of the lad, and let the lad go up with his brothers. For how can I return to my father if the lad is not with me, lest I see the evil that shall come upon my father? That was the moment. The same Judah who once sold me for silver now offered himself in place of Benjamin. The brothers who betrayed me now stood willing to suffer for one another. I could no longer contain it. I cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." The room emptied, and I wept so loudly the Egyptians heard. Then I said to my brothers, "I am Joseph. Does my father yet live?" Their faces drained of color. They stood frozen, unable to speak. Fear consumed them, but I drew near and said, "Do not be grieved or angry with yourselves that you sold me, for God sent me before you to preserve life." What men meant for evil, God meant for good. The moment of truth had come. My brothers trembled before me, fearing vengeance, but I embraced them with tears. What they thought was the end of me had become the beginning of God's greater plan. I said, "It was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, lord of his house, and ruler throughout all Egypt. Hurry, go up to my father and say, 'Joseph is yet alive.'" When my father Jacob saw the wagons, his spirit returned. And when he saw me, when our eyes met after 22 long years, he fell upon my neck and wept. We lived in Egypt, and Pharaoh gave us the best of the land. In famine we were sustained. My brothers multiplied. My father blessed us. Yet I never forgot. Every good thing was the hand of God. In time, my father grew old. Before his death, he blessed each of us, speaking words of destiny. Over Judah, he declared a scepter would not depart, a foreshadowing of the Messiah to come. Over me, he said I was a fruitful bough whose branches ran over the wall. When he passed, I buried him in the cave of Machpelah beside Abraham and Isaac. My heart ached, but I knew he had finished his race. After my father died, fear returned to my brothers. They thought I would finally take revenge. They fell before me again and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But I said to them, "Fear not. Am I in the place of God? You thought evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save much people alive, as it is this day. Now therefore, fear not. I will nourish you and your little ones." And so I comforted them. For I had learned this truth: forgiveness is greater than vengeance, and destiny is greater than pain. Years passed. I grew old in Egypt, yet even at the end my eyes looked beyond. I told my brothers, "God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land, unto the land he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." I made them swear, "Carry my bones from here." For I knew Egypt was not our home. Canaan, the land of promise, awaited. And so I died. But my story was never about me. It was about the God who turns betrayal into blessing, pits into thrones, and pain into purpose. I was Joseph, the dreamer, the slave, the prisoner, the ruler. But above all, I was a witness to the God who never forgets his word. What men meant for evil, God meant for good.